The start of the year is the time where everyone tries to glow up. They start challenges like 75 hard and try to become the best versions of themselves. But I feel like no one really talks about the mental part that you really need to tackle when you want to glow up. Because for one, I feel like the mental part is the hardest, and without figuring out how you can mentally become the best version of yourself, every physical thing isn't playing into becoming more confident or loving yourself more because your mindset isn't right. It's not about becoming perfect, it's about becoming someone you actually feel proud of to be alone with. And this whole mental glow up is not about being perfect or don't have negative thoughts. It's about becoming someone you feel proud to be and are proud to be alone with. The first thing I would tell everybody who wants to mentally glow up is to stop romanticizing their old self. I, for myself, am a very ambitious person, but I'm so lazy, and that's something I want to work on this year. And I feel like romanticizing your old self is also romanticizing all the parts of you, even the ones that you want to change. And I don't mean with that you're falling off. I feel like you're outgrowing yourself. You're always outgrowing because you grow, you become a different person, you learn a lot, and you have to let go of the version you aren't anymore. You grow because the person you once were doesn't fit in your current life. Growth feels uncomfortable, and that's normal, and it's not aesthetic because it hurts. Sometimes you feel like you're out of place because you have grown so much, and I feel like that's one part you can't romanticize. The second thing I like to do is cleaning up your inner dialogue, and I think this is something everyone has to fix, especially women, because as girls, as women, as females in this world, we are told who we need to be and that how we are perceived matters, and that we have to sit in a certain way, that we have to act in a certain way to be attractive and acceptable. And I feel like because of that, we have a lot of negative self-talk. I'm not saying that men don't have that, but I feel like women are taught to think more negative about themselves. And here is where the inner dialogue comes in. I want you to notice how you talk to yourself. Replace your harsh thoughts with neutral ones. So instead of saying, I'm so far behind, everyone in my life is so far ahead, say something like, I'm still figuring out at my own pace, but I like where I am currently because I've come so far. So replace the harsh thoughts with neutral thoughts or even with positives. I, for myself, do that a lot. When I see that I'm criticizing myself, I stop that and start listing 5 things that I'm proud of. So when you think you're so behind, try and turn that narrative for you in your head, and then you tell yourself 5 things you are proud of that you have achieved, or 5 things that you love about yourself, or 5 things where you've noticed you've grown a lot lately that you are proud of. And that basically rewires your brain into thinking more positive things about yourself and gives you that mental positivity that you are searching for. Which brings me right into the third step: protect your energy. Not everyone deserves access to you, your life, your thoughts, or your inner dialogue. Distance yourself from the draining people. I know it's hard, and I know sometimes the draining people are people that have given us a lot before, but you outgrew people, you change, the people around you change, and sometimes the people around you change not for the better, or you start going into different directions. So distance yourself from people that don't add to your energy, that don't make you feel good about yourself. Stop oversharing with those people and stop oversharing in general, because with oversharing you let people inside your head. You share every thought that you have and let other people manipulate these thoughts. I know it's hard because I'm a certified oversharer myself and an overthinker and a people pleaser, but we can learn to get out of that, because your peace is way better and way more important than the attention you get if you don't protect your energy and you let everyone everybody in your space. And to fix your inner dialogue, to get people out of your life, to glow up mentally, you need to start building discipline, because discipline is the key to growing, to become the best version of yourself, to start rewiring your brain, because you have to do it every day. And you're not motivated every day, I can tell you that, but as soon as the discipline kicks in, it's absolutely not important what the motivation says, because motivation is temporary and discipline kicks in when motivation fades out. So build small habits instead of making these huge plans, because small habits are easier to stick with than the big plan you have in the long run. For example, you want to feel good about yourself, to start loving yourself, to be happy with the person you are. For example, I noticed that I have a lot of negative self-talk in my head and I wanted to change that. And to change that, my one habit that I implemented in my life at that time was journaling every morning. Every morning I wrote at least 5 things down that I loved about myself. And the first 3 weeks I wrote down kind of the same things, but afterwards I got away from the outer parts and more inside of my character and how I treat people, how I am with people that are around me. And these are habits that you need to build to kind of become a better person mentally for you and yourself. And these habits also help you to show up even when you don't feel like it. You know it because that's the reason why there are these 1,000 challenges. But I feel like discipline when it comes to your mental self-talk or how you think is way more important, because I think that the number of thoughts we have in a day is 70,000. You can't control every thought that is going through your brain, but you can control how you let the thought that you have impact your day and impact your mind. And as soon as you have a negative thought, work against it. And that's the habit that I think everybody needs to implement, because you don't need that negative self-talk. And I know that sometimes we have bad days and then the negative self-talk is coming out, but I feel like especially on those days, stop it and either start something where you don't think at all or start to turn the negative thoughts around. And with that being said, get comfortable with being alone. Your glow up starts in solitude. You have to take yourself on solo dates and stop relying on other people. I moved into a city where I don't know anyone and I try to take more care of me since I live here. Because if you watched my last live update video, I only have one friend in the city and my boyfriend, so I'm relying on 2 people, which isn't very good. And I really am trying to enjoy my own company and take myself on dates, do things only with me, because I feel like you need to understand and realize what you need, what you like, what you don't like, and be your own best friend. Because I, for my part, think you need to know how you want to be treated to tell people how you want to be treated. And you can figure that out if you do shadow work and stuff like that, but you also can figure that out when you start being your own best friend and being the person that takes time out of a hectic day to check in with yourself, do something nice for yourself, because your own company is the one thing that will always be there, even when no one else is. I feel like sometimes we make ourselves the enemy, even though we aren't. And we really are our own best friends, because if we're honest, I know myself the best and you know yourself the best, because you are in your head the most. And I know what I like, I know what I don't like, I know what I want to become, where I want to go, where my life's headed, or at least where I want my life to head. And I think that's the reason why you need to get comfortable being alone and need to get comfortable being uncomfortable from time to time to build mental strength and become the best part of yourself. Which leads me to your timeline. As I already said, it's your timeline, it's your life, so stop comparing your timeline to anyone else's. Everyone is on a different path. Social media isn't the reality. No one is showing you 100% of their life. So focus on your your next step and not on the next step somebody else took. Create a life that feels good offline. For you, for where you want to go, for your goals, where you want to be headed, because your life should feel better than your phone. And for that, you need to build routines that support you and romanticize your own life instead of romanticizing the life of somebody else. And these are the most important parts. Everybody is fighting a different battle. You don't know what somebody is going through. And I feel like that is something we always have to remember. I mean, I lived a completely different life than you have. Even my sister, who is the closest person to me, lives a different life than I have. And we have grown up in the same household and we have been through the same things. But for one, we have processed it differently, and she was older than me when it happened. She has a complete different personality and she is living her own life. She has a different job than I have. And I think even when you look through that perspective, you and your sibling live a very, very similar life, but even you have different battles to fight because you have different personalities and you are different people. And I think that's something we all need to remember. We need to be our own best friend, need to mentally lock in and turn our bad thoughts into good ones and stop comparing ourselves and start to think that we can do it. And that's the end of the video. What I want you to take away from this video: your mental glow up is quiet. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, but it changes everything because it changes how you perceive yourself, how you talk to yourself, and how you step in for yourself. And I heard a quote the other day that went something like, I can do it, I will do it, I will get through it, and I will make it happen. And I think that's very, very important for all of us, because whatever you set your mind to, you can achieve. You just need to put your energy into it. And you are strong, you are confident, you can do whatever you set your mind to, because if you can think it, you just need to put it into action and do it. And that's the last thing I wanted to tell you. I hope you have a wonderful week. Make someone's day this week. If you have any questions, my DMs are always open for you. Have a lovely week. We see us next week on Monday. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and we see us. Bye.
1, 2, 3, funky.
My darling, I love you, 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 I love you.